Yes, I'm going to use a cheat sheet, sorry, but I want to give you information. That's what I'm here for. So first I'm going to say thank you, Patrick, and thanks, Ed, for inviting us here, and everybody at the Boston Tea Party.
And your name is?
Appreciate it. I'm going to tell you right now. That's the next line.
Okay.
My name is Anne Alliegro. I am a wife, a mom, and an MBL scientist. And actually, speaking of running for office, my husband, Mark Alliegro, is running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District. So if any of you live there, please go to his website, markalliegro.com. I'm here with other members of the Liberty Chalkboard, Agatha, Dorothy, Linda, Phyllis, Pam, and we've got members that we left down on the Cape, Mimi and Maureen. We're all part of the Upper Cape Tea Party, and the Liberty Chalkboard is actually the education wing of the Upper Cape Tea Party. We started a while ago just basically wanting to teach kids American history, and we do have newsletters that are online. And I brought you an example today that you can copy and hand out to kids. We hand them out at parades, we hand them out at schools and at the local businesses. But when we realized what was happening with Common Core, because we do, Phyllis, for example, is a member of the school committee, we decided that we had to jump on it right away. So let's get going. I'm here to talk about the Common Core actions with you. And since I'm a scientist, I'm going to have to do this scientifically, so please bear with me. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In this case, that's right. Thank you, sir. In this case, before we plan our reaction to the Common Core, I believe we need to fully understand the full scope of what Common Core is. We have to know from its original action what it is. So when we're through, I'm sure you're going to agree with me that our reaction is going to have to be not only opposite, but overwhelming. As a matter of fact, it's going to have to be atomic, or what they've been building up to all these years. So let's get started. Point one, my first data point. The greatest generation, okay? How long did they go to school? Maybe they made it to the 3rd grade. Some of my aunts and uncles only made it to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. They can all read. They can all write eloquently. They can all handwrite beautifully. They can all do math. They run successful businesses, and heck, they raised us. Okay? They're smart people, and they know how to be free. Okay, one thing that they did have in school, besides teachers who were actually teaching them how to read and write and do math, they also did have God in school. He was not banned from the schools, and as a matter of fact, I have a copy of the New England Primer here, which is from Boston, as a matter of fact, and it is absolutely full of Scripture. I'm not here to talk about Scripture, but I just will say it was part of the curriculum. What happened? Well, in 1963, what happened was there was a Supreme Court case, Abington versus Shem, and the Supreme Court decided to strike down official use of the Bible in public schools, overruling many states. So there's two things here. So first, we got rid of morals in school, but secondly, we overruled state rules. We took away local control from our schools, and we started to put it into the hands of the federal government. Okay? And really, this pretty much began even sooner than that, maybe in the 30s and 20s, but certainly by the 60s now it became official. It's kind of dangerous. So there are consequences to every action. So I'm going to show my first graph, and because I'm a scientist, this overwhelmed me the first time I saw it, and I'm sorry I have to share it with you. Okay? So we've got SAT scores. We're talking about how smart our kids are. This is what we care about with education, right? The SAT scores are cruising along in the 980s. You hit 1963, and what happens to them? They start to plummet because teachers aren't teaching anymore. Now they're worried about extra things and extracurricular things like sex education and stuff like that. They're just not so concerned about education, okay? And this is coming from the top down. I'm nothing against the teachers. They're doing what they have to do, to this day, as a matter of fact, okay? So that's what happens. If you go to several other graphs I have here, one happens to be violent crimes per capita. Again, 1963, it skyrockets, okay? Then we have birth rates for unwed girls. Again, 1963, it skyrockets. The numbers go up. These are from the Census Bureau. These aren't made-up numbers. These are real numbers. These numbers are from the SAT and from the college boards. Same thing here with sexually transmitted diseases. So we had a shift happening in the early 60s, and actually most of us in the room are part of this education. And I can say now, looking back on it, I understand. All right, Next, my point 4, by the mid-70s, since all these things were looking so bad, the feds had a great excuse. We have to fix things, and you know what that excuse is. Let's have a war on drugs. Let's have a war on
poverty.
Poverty, the war on poverty. Well, here's the war on our kids aren't educated enough, so what do? They establish the Department of Education. Now we really have officially federal intrusion into our local school systems. Okay? And since this looks so bad with the scores, they had to do something about that. So what do? Well, you're going to have to change the tests. So now we're not going to ask kids what they know anymore. We're going to assess how they think. And now we've switched over to what's called an outcome-based education, where you've got kids no longer being asked to do the math or to write a proper sentence, but instead we want to know if they're thinking correctly, and we're going to give them 4 answers. 2 of them are going to be way out there, and the other 2, it doesn't matter which one you pick because we really don't have a real answer. And if you ask people who administer the MCAS, that's actually what it's like. And if you ask the kids who are taking the MCAS exams, that's what they sit there and tell you. That's not, I find that very deceitful, but that's what's going on. Okay, in the words of Joseph Califano in 1977, who was the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare under President Jimmy Carter, he spoke out against creation of the U.S. Department of Education, and this is just to put a thought in your head. Any set of test questions that the federal government prescribed should surely be suspect as a first step towards a national curriculum. In its most extreme form, national control of curriculum is a form of national control of ideas. And that is very true. So what are we left with right now when we come up to this on steroids, which is now the Common Core? This is what we're seeing right this minute, this week, this month, since this school year in our schools. And we've got the resource table examples of these things, and if you go online, Liberty Chalkboard, to the school feed, we've got articles on all these things, so I'm not making it up. You can't even make this stuff up. Okay. We've got our students not tested on knowledge, but assessed on thought process. We have our Massachusetts standards, and many standards around the country, being lowered even more. I can't even believe that's a serious thought. Our babies are being taught sex ed in pre-kindergarten. This is not, I'm not making this up, it's part of the National Sex Education Standards. I'm thinking we should be looking at jail time for this kind of stuff. But yet, it's happening, and everybody says we can't do anything about it. Our children aren't taught to strive for correct answers in mathematics. Now it's all by consensus. And that's true, too. You can find that, as a matter of fact, in Falmouth, we had teachers telling parents, it doesn't matter what the answer is as long as the class agrees with the answer. So 4 plus 4 can easily equal 27. It just doesn't matter.
Take a vote.
Right. Our kids are getting 5 to 6, 7 weeks of Islamic studies. Now, I know that for a fact in Falmouth, as a matter of fact. Okay? But you better not dare utter the words Merry Christmas in school. And you all know that's true. So we had, in Arizona, Wahhabi states are Skyping the kids. In Tennessee, high school students are visiting mosques and are given Korans. In Massachusetts, in Concord, Mass., the school decides not to read the Pledge of Allegiance on 9/11, but rather a prayer about a Muslim who was made fun of by the cruel American children. Our 8-year-olds are being taught meditation. This was in the front page of the Falmouth Enterprise, to relieve the extraordinary stress levels of the constant testing that they're undergoing right now. It's just horrible what's happening to these kids. Eye monitors, would you put that up for me, Pam? The eye monitors and lie detectors, okay? These are to gain biometric information on our kids. They've got the MIT mood meter going. They've got these crazy seats that I don't know if they're installed yet. They have pressure mice, and this is basically a lie detector. Their intent is to put these on your children while they're looking at their little iPads so they can register the eye movements. This is from the feds, by the way. Producing grit, tenacity, and perseverance. If you need the PDF, we can send it to you. It's over 100 pages long. These are the kind of things they want to do to collect biometric data on your children, because they have a plan, and I'll let you know it in a minute. Our children are constantly being asked intrusive questions about their parents and their home life, and we have many examples of that and some on the resource table that's happening to our children of people in the Liberty Chalkboard, never mind, but also all around the cities. Our children are being taught anti-American history. In this case, the most recent example, the Boston Tea Party members were terrorists. present company is probably not excluded. I just have
We should hope not.
I'm sure you guys fit right into that one. And hey, let's rewrite our Constitution because we don't like it anyway, so they are doing that in the textbook.